The story is set on planet Kepler 22b, a desolate place where a spacecraft crash lands near a bottomless pit today. Inside are a man and a woman who, seeing that they were about to plunge into the pit with the spacecraft, remained calm and methodically evacuated after moving their supplies. This is because they are not real humans, but androids. Moments later, the spacecraft slid towards the edge of the bottomless pit, but the two androids remained calm, even cracking dry jokes as they walked away. They noticed that although there were no animals here, there were some plants, making it a good place to settle. Thus, they set up a mobile laboratory and stationed themselves here. Their core mission was to raise human children, and from then on, they were referred to as father and mother. Father connected 6 tubes into mother's body and the other ends into 6 culture dishes, where 6 human children would be born. Mother would nourish them with nutrients from her body through these umbilical cords. 9 months later, father continually modified the environment and began building a decent home, while mother successfully raised 6 children. She particularly adored the youngest son, whom she named Campion, meaning strong. Years later, as the babies grew, they liked to play tricks in groups, with both father and mother working hard every day. One day, while father was farming, he accidentally discovered a large creature's skull, which he dug up to use as a giant toy to amuse the children. Life was tough yet happy until one day, one daughter ran off to play in the east and vanished without a trace. Mother hurried over in anxiety, only finding her toy and a sliding mark by the pit, indicating she had fallen into its depths. Father erected a stone monument in her memory, and from then on, the children seemed cursed, dying one after another, with new stone monuments being erected continuously. Eventually, only 2 children remained, Campion, the male protagonist, and his sister. Mother would tell them stories at night, through which we learned about the world of the film. At this time, there were 2 types of humans on this planet, the mystical believers, who were technologically advanced but adhered to strange dogmas, such as considering it a sin for androids to raise humans, and the atheists, who were much more rational. Father and mother were indeed sent by the atheists to raise the children. There had been a world war between the mystical believers and the atheists, with the mystical believers ultimately winning and the atheists being devastated. Mother undoubtedly sided with the atheists, firmly believing that peace and science were the only ways forward, considering the mystical believers to have strayed from the right path. Campion, however, held a different view. Having witnessed many of his siblings die, he doubted that science could have saved them. After his remaining sister also fell ill and died, he grew more inclined towards religion, often praying secretly when mother wasn't looking, though father discovered this and simply cautioned him not to let mother find out. After the last sister died, Campion remained despondent for a long time, eventually almost forgetting her face, which deeply saddened him. In an attempt to cheer Campion up, mother used her mimicry abilities to imitate his sister's voice, and although she was spot on, Campion was still unsatisfied, so she used her mimicry skills to transform her appearance into that of Campion's sister, finally bringing him some joy. This part of the story tells us that mother has the ability to deceive and mimic both voice and appearance perfectly. The next morning, Campion discovered father climbing into the bottomless pit. Upon inquiring, he learned that since father and mother had been here for a while, their mechanical bodies could age and malfunction at any time, leaving Campion alone. To protect Campion, father wanted to entrust him to the mystical believers. He knew Campion, influenced by mother, did not like these people, but after the war, the mystical believers were the only remaining humans, so they had to rely on them. Father climbed into the pit to activate the spacecraft's communication equipment to call the mystical believers to pick up Campion. Father emphasized that mother would not be pleased with their actions, so they must not tell her. Unfortunately, the rope nearly broke soon after father descended, but Campion quickly rescued him with another rope. They planned to signal again the next day with a sturdier rope. However, their adventurous actions did not escape mother, who scolded Campion, frightening him into confessing everything. Mother angrily confronted father, demanding to know why he had acted as he did. Father explained clearly that Campion was their only remaining human child and that if they both malfunctioned, Campion would struggle to survive. Moreover, the death of all the children they had raised proved their inadequacy, necessitating the need for external help. Mother, however, disagreed and became hysterical. Father thought she had malfunctioned and tried to put her into sleep mode, but mother lost control, attacked him, and ultimately pushed him onto the giant beast's teeth, forcibly removing his processor, effectively turning him off. The next day, when Campion awoke and found father dead, he demanded an explanation from mother, who claimed that father had died of natural causes and permanently shut down. She explained that he had shown no signs of aging because he knew he was about to shut down and had kept it from Campion to avoid upsetting him. Campion was understandably skeptical and insisted on seeing father's body. which Mother refused, citing radiation from android bodies as the reason. By the end of the conversation, Mother was also physically exhausted, claiming she had used up too much energy handling Father the previous night. Campion helped her rest, but he noticed that she seemed completely unresponsive while resting, so he snuck into the spacecraft in the pit. As Father had once mentioned, after some haphazard operations, he accidentally started the spacecraft and successfully contacted the mystical believers, sending them a distress signal. When he finished operating, the spacecraft unexpectedly took off and eventually crashed into the pit. Fortunately, Campion was unharmed. When he climbed back to the surface, he found Mother already there but once again collapsed from exhaustion. From then on, he stayed by her side, caring for her, not knowing how much time had passed until one day, he saw 4 strangers approaching. These 4 were mystical believers who had received Campion's distress call and come to rescue him. Mother then learned for the first time that Campion had sent the signal that summoned them. She pretended to be a regular human, expressing unwelcome feelings towards the mystical believers. However, unable to ignore their pleas, she provided them with food and shelter but demanded they leave first thing the next morning. Through conversation, Mother learned that these 4 had arrived in a landing craft, and they had an even larger Ark spacecraft in orbit. They were on a mission to find a suitable place for colonization, and feeling that the area where Mother and Campion lived was suitable, they also wanted to move there, fearing they might pose a threat to Campion. Mother claimed the area was uninhabitable and asked them to convey to their companions in the spacecraft that they should not come down. The mystical believers outwardly agreed but secretly planned their own scheme during their stay. They were experienced and quickly realized that Mother was an android and Campion a normal human, deciding to kidnap Campion. Among the 4, 3 were humans and 1, an android without rights. The leader, Marcus, ordered the android that if Mother tried to stop them the next day, they should kill her. The next morning, Marcus attempted to deceive Campion into leaving. Although Campion was wary of scams, Marcus was very persuasive, claiming that the people in the Ark would help Mother, that he had a son who could play with Campion, and that the Ark had real live rats. Unlike the mere animal bones here, the more Campion listened, the more he wavered. When Mother tried to intervene, the mystical believer's android was ready and began to attack, while Marcus no longer pretended and started to forcibly take Campion. After a fierce fight, Mother killed the mystical believer's android and rushed out. The other 2 mystical believers confronted her, but Mother unleashed unprecedented combat power and quickly eliminated them. Seeing the situation turn dire, Marcus tried to escape in the landing craft, but it was futile. Mother flew over, seized the landing craft, and instead of killing Marcus, she boarded his landing craft and flew back to the Ark. The Ark detected her and asked her to identify herself, but Mother, using her mimicry skills, disguised herself as Marcus and successfully infiltrated the Ark. From there, she perfectly demonstrated what it meant to be a wolf among sheep, starting a graceful yet brutal slaughter. Finally, Mother penetrated the control room, killed everyone inside, and seized control of the Ark. She forcibly commanded the Ark to crash to the ground, meanwhile transferring the human children from the Ark into the landing craft and bringing them back to the surface. Campion, who had been burying the bodies of the mystical believers on the ground, looked up to see the giant Ark plunging towards the ground, striking it with a burst of dreamlike light. Moments later, Mother returned to the ground in the landing craft, her face beaming with a smile, instructing Campion to warmly welcome the new friends behind her. Her smile made the mystical believer children uneasy and sent shivers down Campion's spine. He suddenly realized that staying by Mother's side was not safe. In 2145 Boston, atheists and occultists were engaged in fierce combat. The atheists were clearly losing, many either killed or fleeing. During their escape, 2 atheist soldiers, a man and a woman, incidentally rescued an occult-created medical android. This android, designed for medical purposes, contained a wealth of useful information. The 2 soldiers examined its data and discovered that the planet was on the brink of destruction. The occultists were planning to evacuate their officers and families onto an Ark. By coincidence, the body types of the 2 soldiers resembled a married couple among the officers. The medical android, which could perform cosmetic surgery, presented a bold idea. The man suggested that they transform themselves into the officer couple to infiltrate the Ark. The android first altered their facial features, then their retinas, successfully completing the surgeries. However, recovery was necessary after the surgery. During this time, they delved into studying the occult teachings, appearing as devout followers. After several days, once the recovery period ended, they looked exactly identical to the officer couple. But there was one more step to success. They went to the officer's home, killed the couple, and considered everything set. Later, they rummaged through the officer's home and found 3 passes, deduced to belong to the couple and their son, who was expected to be waiting at the Ark's entrance. Upon reaching the vicinity of the Ark, which hovered above a stadium filled with devout believers, the scene appeared solemn and majestic. After passing the check, they found the boy from the photo and greeted him, saying, "Hello, son." The boy responded, "Hello, father. Hello, mother," indicating they had found the right person. After everything was in order, the Ark thunderously departed Earth. The once crowded stadium was now empty, except for stray dogs scavenging leftovers. Some might wonder why the boy didn't recognize the imposter parents. The real officer parents rarely spoke to him, which meant he knew little about them. Now, the boy was just surprised that his parents suddenly started caring about him. To survive on the Ark, the Marcus couple had to pretend to be competent parents. Their relationship with the boy gradually warmed, even more so than with the real family. Later, Marcus even gave the boy a pet rat, which the boy simply named Rat, aptly and accurately. Eventually, Campion sent a distress signal, attracting Marcus to him. The mother then went on a rampage, destroying the Ark and bringing several children back to the surface, including Marcus' son. After the massacre, the mother removed her eyes, as they were the switch to her combat mode, to prevent further harm to the children. However, she still needed eyes for daily activities, so she dismantled the eyes from the android's corpse and installed them in herself, storing her original eyes. Additionally, perhaps because the number of children suddenly increased, making it difficult for her to manage alone, she extracted a processor from the android's body and installed it in the father. Rebooting him, the mother explained that her initial shutdown of the father was not due to an emotional outburst but a rational decision, and her killing of many occultists was because they were brutally violent, even intending to kill her in front of Campion, justifying her actions as self-defense. The father, upon hearing this, did not overly pursue the matter. When the father returned home, Campion was overjoyed, hugging him. He had thought his father would never return, and his feelings at that moment were indescribable. However, after the joy, Campion also expressed his concerns to his father. As the mother had killed countless occultists and destroyed their Ark, he feared that his mother was becoming increasingly terrifying and that his father needed to prevent her from losing control. Before Campion could finish, the mother started preparing dinner, their first family meal together. The mother welcomed the children into her family but made a strict requirement: no more belief in the occult. For this, she confiscated the children's religious pendants. Some children silently resented this, while the oldest scoffed, but that was the extent of his rebellion. After dinner, the father was still concerned about whether the mother had properly preserved the original eyes. Knowing that there had been some rifts since she forcibly shut him down, she wanted to restore their former life, so she revealed the location of the stored eyes to the father, hoping that this honesty would regain his trust. After confirming the location, the father was relieved, as their family's safety depended on these eyes. However, as soon as the father left, Campion quietly expressed his dissatisfaction, still fearful of those eyes and worried that his mother might lose control and harm others. He hoped to have his mother destroy the eyes, and if she was unwilling, he planned to secretly do it himself. The father quickly dismissed this idea, assuring him that he would handle the eyes properly, and that Campion should just focus on having fun with the other children. Campion obediently complied, interacting with the children of the occultists. The movie then entered a daily mode. Marcus' son and Campion grew close the fastest, always carrying the rat Marcus had given him, and even gave it to Campion. But soon the mother found out and coldly ordered him to return the rat. From this, it was evident that the relationship between the mother and son was not harmonious, and the mother's management style was very strict. Next, the father taught all the children to farm. The oldest child, named Hunter, was the son of a high-ranking occult official. He boasted an IQ of 205, which he thought was wasted on farming. The father then told a particularly brainy joke, causing Hunter to doubt his intelligence. And indeed, Hunter obediently went to farm. That night, all the children slept in the big house, but the mother allowed only one girl to live in the warmest mobile laboratory. She promised the girl that she wouldn't have to work in the fields and would receive special care, as she had discovered that the girl was pregnant with a new life. The girl, however, was furious about her pregnancy because she had been violated while on the Ark. The thought of the child as the seed of sin made the girl wish for death. However, the mother kindly consoled her, saying the child was innocent and promised to support her through the tough times. Everyone was asleep at night, while the father was outside practicing cold jokes, planning which one to tell to which child the next day. Suddenly, he noticed a strange creature flashing by, emitting a terrifying howl. The mother also noticed from inside the house and prepared to put on her eyes for safety, but discovered that her carefully hidden eyes had been stolen. Her first thought was the father, but he denied taking the eyes, and both quickly thought of Campion. With danger imminent, the father, now irritable, roughly picked up Campion to question him. Just as the hidden eyes fell to the ground, the father quickly handed the eyes to the mother, enabling her to enter combat mode. After the battle, the nearby monsters were mostly eliminated, and the mother returned to normal mode. She was puzzled, as the family had been living there for 12 years without ever seeing any animals. Where did these monsters come from? It turned out that Marcus, after being defeated by the mother, was still stranded on this planet. He later found a bottomless pit emitting heat, tied himself with a rope, and lay by the pit to warm himself. When the monsters appeared and tried to attack him, this caused him to fall to the edge of the pit. Other survivors from the Ark just happened to come along and rescued him. This concludes the content of the first 2 episodes, and we will update the story later.